guys, welcome to the start of my Black Lit Challenge Reading Month vlog. If you can hear very loud mariachi music in the background, that's my neighbor. Also, please excuse my breakout that's happening. I am a bit of a mess today. It is currently February 3rd, so it's Monday, and I just started the first book on my TBR for the Black Lit Challenge. This is With the Fire on High by Alyssa Acevedo, which is about a young Afro-Latina mother. She's a teen mom, and she's trying to kind of navigate being a single teen mom with, graduating from college, or graduating from high school and wanting to be a professional chef. And I don't annotate books, I've talked about this, but I already found 2 spots where literally there was a sentence so beautiful it made my heart swell, my chest swell with joy. So I was like, maybe I should mark those off. And it's also a really fast read. I'm already in the 60 pages and I was only reading for 30 minutes. It's so good already. Elizabeth Acevedo is she's such a talented writer. I'm getting emotional. I have been listening to the 5th season. That's not on my TBR, but I have been listening to it. I think I'm about 20% in right now. Anyway, this is so good. Hello again. Last time I checked in with you, it was Monday night, and it is now Tuesday night. I got home from work a little bit ago, and I just wanted to let you guys know, keep you updated about where I am with the Fire on High. And the truth is, I finished it. I finished it at work. There are 8 tabs in this, and that is because as I was reading, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put a little sticky note every time my heart is filled with joy. And so this whole book is just so beautiful. Oh my god. Okay, it is just so beautifully and warmly written. Every page in this book feels warm and cozy, and the author is trying to convey this sense of family and belonging. And Imani is just such a compelling main character. She's really interesting, and she's smart and passionate and so caring. I definitely think I liked The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo more. That one made me cry at the end. It got me a little bit more emotional. Maybe I didn't cry about this because I was at work when I finished it. I couldn't stop reading it. It went so fast. I mean, I read this in 4 or 5 hours total altogether, and this book is almost 400 pages. So probably less than 5 hours, probably around 4 hours. So it was just so good. This was the book that I was going to read for the Black Lit Challenge, for the specific challenge of reading a book with a black person on the cover, or black character on the cover. And this is Imani. I love her. If I was a teenager, I would have a crush on her 100%. 5 stars. Oh my god, it's like a bare wall, nothing going on. Hello. The last time you saw me was, what was that noise? The last time you saw me was February 4th. Today is February 11th, and I have made some progress. I regret to say that I was unable to complete the 5th season before my library hold on the audiobook was up, and that is because I spent 5 days not reading at all, not listening to any audiobooks, and only listening to music because I got really into Louis Tomlinson's album, which is very good. Thank you. What was I saying? But I did read We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. It was good. It was a 45-minute long audiobook. I listened to it, the whole thing, Monday morning driving to work, and today's Tuesday night, so yesterday morning. And basically, it's exactly what I expected. I don't know why I really expected to be blown away. I've seen the TED Talk it's based on, and honestly, a lot of the things that were discussed in the essay, it's more of a speech than an essay, so I'm glad I listened to the audiobook because I definitely think that added to it, because I think reading it would have felt it wouldn't have been impersonal, but it would have been less personal, you know what I mean? I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, but it was good, but it's very, I would say, foundational feminism is kind of what it's focusing on, just talking about very obvious differences between the treatment of men and women in society. It also, I was surprised by how much Adichie kind of talked about the biological differences between men and women, I would have said it was a very cis-normative binary speech that, and it was just, yeah, I don't know, it just really bothered me. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why it bothered me, but I don't know why. I really don't know how to feel about that, which I think is why I really gave it three stars, is because I expected maybe a little bit more. I expected to be like blown away a little bit more. I still think that it is definitely a good piece of writing, and I definitely appreciate that it is a look into her experience as an African woman, and how that might be different from like the experiences of African American women. And so that was really interesting. And I did enjoy it, and it was very quick, and I listened to it while I was stuck in traffic. And then I started Sula by Toni Morrison, and right now I am, I think, almost 70% through. It's taking me longer than I expected, honestly, because it's like a 6-hour audiobook, and I'm only 70% through, and I've been listening to it for like 3 days. But I think it's just because I feel like I've read a lot of serious books lately, and it's really getting me down. Like, Sula, okay. Sula is the story of, the synopsis that's like given for it is the story of 2 black women in America, and how they were friends as children, and then as they grew up, they took their very different paths with their lives, and how that kind of reflects on the black town where they grew up. It takes literally half the book to get to that point. So the first half of the book is really laying the groundwork for the town, and laying the groundwork for the women who raised the main characters. And the main characters are Sula and Nell. And I do like it. Toni Morrison is an incredible writer, and there are some lines that really knock the breath out of me. She's also narrating the audiobook, and this audiobook honestly is not the highest of qualities, like the recording, so it's a little different than what I'm used to. It's just not quite as crisp. I will also say Toni Morrison doesn't do voices for her characters, which obviously I didn't expect her to. She's the author reading her own work, but there was a particular scene where there's like no narration in between, where it's like, she said, this other woman said. So it was just like dialogue of Toni Morrison's voice going back and forth with very minor inflection changes, and I had no idea who was talking the whole time. Ooh! But I am enjoying it now that we've kind of gotten to where we're going. I don't think this is going to be a favorite for me. I'm still glad I'm reading it. It's very interesting. I also didn't know that it was historical. For some reason, I thought that it was going to be taking place kind of as a contemporary novel as to when Toni Morrison wrote it, and it was first published in 1973. So I kind of imagined it being like 1970s, 1960s, but it is like historical 1920s. Hey guys, hello. It's February 12th, and I finished Sula today. Sula, I don't know if you heard me, I like hit myself in the face. What are you doing? I liked it. I don't really like get the ending. Please don't play with this Barnes & Noble bag. I don't really get the ending, and it was still good. It was still well written, and I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed some parts of it, but it just felt like the plot, there was no plot. It felt like there was no plot, and it just jumped all over the place, and I could kind of see the threads coming together, but I think I just don't have like the literary mind to put the pieces together in the way that I'm sure it paints a beautiful picture of this town. Not beautiful picture like a good picture, but like the book is a tapestry. It's beautiful. But I don't know if I really got that. It was also like depressing as hell. I feel like it deserves 3.5 stars because there were parts of it that I really enjoyed. The writing was beautiful, but like, I don't know, man. I did start another book. It is Tempest by Beverly Jenkins. I was apparently unaware that this was an old Western historical romance, so that was a shock. And honestly, I'm like already a couple hours in to the audiobook, and I'm enjoying the story. My problem was with the narrator. It's hard to find an audiobook of a romance like sexy when the narrator has like the voice of like like an elementary school teacher. Just the way that she's saying things makes me feel like a teacher reading it just feels like a teacher reading a picture book, and I just find that kind of uncomfortable, honestly. So I'm like not super enjoying that part of it. But Tempest is about Reagan Carmichael, who is a mail order bride for Colton Lee. Colton Lee is the only doctor in this territory in Wyoming, and he needs a wife to be a mother to his 6-year-old daughter, Anna. And so Reagan comes to town, and their first meeting, she shoots him because she thinks that he is a bandit about to attack the coach that she's in. And so she's just a firecracker that he wasn't expecting. And I am enjoying it. I really like Reagan. I really like I would say I'm okay with Colton. Honestly, my only thing is that her first night in town, she spends at Colton's sister Spring's. Her name's Spring. Her house, and Spring is like a cool, independent woman with her own ranch. And honestly, I just feel like the book would have been improved if she like came to the town to be a mail order bride and fell in love with his sister and they were lesbians together. So I don't know, but I'm liking it so far, and I'm definitely intrigued. I'm probably going to look up more Beverly Jenkins books because I know she's a very prolific writer. Yes, that is my update. Hello, it's February 13th, so it's been like one day since I talked to you, and I am now 45% through Tempest, and I just wanted to give you, oh my god, my phone's falling over. I just wanted to give you a little update. 2 things to note. The main characters, I just have problems with both of them. Reagan, the girl, she's just a Mary Sue. Like, she's like pretty and smart and independent and rich, like really rich, and everybody likes her. And I guess I would say her only flaw is maybe she's like a little stubborn, or maybe, but not really. She's very eager to please. She's getting along really well with like her new husband's daughter, and like the only people who don't like her are not because she is doing anything wrong. They're people who are bigoted or like something like that. So like, I don't know about this light actually. I think that's a better tone maybe. I don't know. So that's my problem. And then Colton Lee. My problem with him is that he like before he meets Reagan, he's like, well, good women don't get naked in front of their husbands. They don't have sexual needs. They don't experience sexual pleasure. Good wives, like a good wife will just lie down and like let me do my business and then go, and like women don't orgasm or like anything like that. And like for some reason I would a million times prefer if it's like a man whore alpha, like a man whore hero who's like, maybe I don't respect women, but damn, like I make women happy in bed, than this guy who's like extremely respectful, but like, don't you know that only like sluts have sexual pleasure, like experience sexual pleasure? I don't know. And I'm making him sound much worse than he is. Like, this book is not offensive. It's not offensive in any way. This is clearly like one of those like, oh, because it's historical things. It's just kind of bugging me. Also, like I don't mean like I want all my heroes to like not like women. That's not what I want. I was just using it as kind of like an exaggerated example. My other things are that the writing, like, I guess I'm just not used to old Westerns. Like, do they all do this thing where they, like, walk you through, or they, like, talk a lot about the practicalities of day-to-day, like, existence? Like, there was a whole part where Reagan is like, can you show me how to use the boiler? And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, I need to know how to use the boiler to make hot water. And he was like, why? And she's like, just in case you're gone, so I can cook and make baths. And then he's like, okay. And then they walk outside and they go to the boiler. And then he, like, shows her how to use the boiler, and then she's like, oh, let me try, and then they keep trying it again until like, but it like went on, it felt like. And I just feel like this book is just the things that they do are just very mundane, and maybe that's just because I'm used to like Regency historical fiction where it's like purposely stylized to be like flowery, and like, you know, the writing is just very kind of practical. I don't know. I also just don't really think the sex scenes are very sexy, and I can't tell if it's because of the way they're written or because of the way they're narrated. So I'm not having as much of a great time with this book as I expected to, but it's fine. Hello. Oh, thank you. Hello. It is, thank you, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day for me and my Valentine. Oh, she doesn't want to be in it? Oh, you don't like how we're lying? Okay. Anyway, I finished Tempest. I was not a fan of Tempest. Oh my god. Oh, what's happening here? Oh, please don't step on me. Oh god. I'm gonna, ow, fuck. Shit. Okay. Anyway. I'm having so much trouble. Thanks, baby. I didn't really like it, and the ending actually brought to light a problem I didn't realize I was having. She's just sitting on my chest. Okay. The end of the book brought to light a problem I was having, which is basically that there wasn't any there wasn't any internal conflict. Like, the relationship itself wraps itself up, like, not wraps itself up, but like they confess their feelings pretty early on. Like, the relationship itself is like pretty solid before the halfway point of the book, which is fine, but like the external conflict is not enough to compensate for how little internal conflict there is. There is an external plot that's happening, but things about it show up so infrequently throughout the book, and then in between those things, it's not like the characters are investigating anything. Like, there's hair on my tongue, probably because she's sitting on my chest. Anyway, it's not like the characters are investigating anything. They're just like living their lives, and the book is just like describing their day-to-day lives, and I was so bored. Okay, also, I don't know if I said this earlier, but I was thinking about Regan, and I think something that would have made her interesting, like beyond being a Mary Sue, is if she had like an interest or a passion. Like, the Amanda Quick books that I love. Thank you. The Amanda Quick books that I love. Short intermission. We're back. We figured it out. The Amanda Quick books that I love, the thing about them is, like, maybe they're all the same and all of the heroines are, like, this spunky feminist. But, like, each of the heroines, like, has, like, an interest. Like, one of them is into geology, or one's into horticulture, or cracking codes, or, like, you know, like normal people have like hobbies. Regan doesn't have any hobbies, and like her husband's a doctor, so that's his thing, is being like a kind doctor, but Regan doesn't like have anything, so she's just kind of boring. And then on my way home, I started A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. Here's baby. Here's other baby. Lots of babies. And that is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. It starts off with Alice meeting Addison. I can't tell if his name is Hatta or Hatter because he has a British accent, so the narrator is saying it like Hatta. Either way, she is like somebody who can kill nightmares in Wonderland that are like created from the fears of humans manifested in their dreams, and I'm kind of digging it so far. I just think the beginning, like the pacing's kind of weird. Oh, she's decided to leave the building. And I just think the pacing at the beginning is kind of weird, but I'm not too mad at it. So I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated. Hello guys, it is Sunday, February 16th, and I just wanted to give you guys a little update as to what I've been reading. But I did listen to more of A Blade So Black. I'm now 30% in, and I'm enjoying it. I think we're starting to get towards where the plot is. I'm still a little confused. I'm not sure if the world building is as strong as it could be. I was kind of hoping for more description of like The Wonders of Wonderland. I think that's going to like come soon, so like I'm getting pretty excited for it. But I also started reading A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole, and it's so good so far. I'm only like, I want to say I'm only maybe 15% in. Or I don't know how long it is, but I've listened to 2 hours of the audiobook. It's so cute! So A Princess in Theory is about Naledi Smith, and she is an orphan. She grew up in foster care, and she's been getting these emails from this African country claiming that she, as a child, was betrothed to like this prince, and she's like, oh my god, this fucking spam is driving me crazy. But plot twist, is not spam, and the prince has just surprised her at her job, and she doesn't recognize him. She assumed that he was a new coworker that she has to train, so now he's like trying to be a waiter with her, but he's like, damn, this is hard work. It's so cute. Okay, I'm really enjoying it, which is very exciting, because I didn't like the last romance I read, so having a good time here. Hello, welcome back. It is Friday, February 21st. This is a plastic cup of wine, and Marcy is chasing a toy around the room. It's very loud. But I'm a cup and a half in, a glass and a half in, I guess. Because they're called glasses of wine, even though it's in a plastic cup. Anyway, I want to talk about the books that I've read. Since we last spoke, I finished A Blade So Black. And I also finished A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. I have a couple things to say about both of them. Marcy, you're so loud. Okay. First of all, A Blade So Black was fine. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked it. But it was a very, like, detached, neutral liking. I don't feel passionate about it, but I've never particularly, like, not like I dislike Alice in Wonderland, but I never felt strongly about Alice in Wonderland. I think I've seen the movie a handful of times, but not in the past 5 years, 5 or 6 years for sure. Maybe not even the last 10 years, but, you know, it was good. Honestly, I really like Alice as a character. I thought she was very spunky, but she had a lot of flaws, and I really liked her. She was angry and resentful, but also cared very, very much about her mom. And she was frustrated because she's trying her best, but, you know, this is her butt. She was trying her best, but, you know, it wasn't, like, working out for her. She was getting in trouble left and right. I will say that the synopsis that Goodreads gives doesn't start till, like, halfway through the book. Oh, my God. I have no memory of if I've said something like that before. So, like, I don't know if I'm repeating myself. Girl, you were stepping on my charger, tilting my phone down. Anyway. Oh, hi, baby. Hi, big girl. Oh, I love you. Oh. I think I'm gonna read the second one, though. I think it's called A Dream So Dark. The reason I really want to read it, I was very like, it was fine, but I'm not gonna read the second one. Up until the very end, and then I was like, that is an intriguing end of a book. Hi, can I help you? That was an intriguing end of a book, and I'm very interested to see how that's going. I didn't see very good reviews of the second one. Honestly, they were pretty mixed, but also, I feel like there was some Twitter beef that happened, or I feel like the author somehow enraged the masses, and it was one of those things where everybody rates it 1 star before the book even comes out, which I don't think is very fair. I think that's kind of stupid. So, I don't know. I might read it. I'll get to it eventually. It's not a priority. Hi, Bubba. But I liked it enough. And then I finished A Princess in Theory, which, let me tell you, 5 fucking stars. That book is so fucking good when it comes to characters individually, characters in a romantic context, The chemistry, the sexual chemistry, the sex scenes, A+. The writing, so good. The romantic tension, the external plot, the pacing, the world building, the like all of the characters, the supporting cast. Literally, I have said it before, probably. Actually, I don't really know. I've probably said it before, but I'm not really a contemporary romance gal. They're not my favorite, usually because I feel like the romantic stakes are never as high. Because, like, generally, there's not really any social barriers to people getting together besides, like, their own stubbornness. And I always was like, I'll just read fan fiction because then it's about characters I already care about. But I really love this one, and I'm pretty sure I'm a new Alyssa Cole stan. One second. I'm pretty sure I'm a new Alyssa Cole stan. I basically knew, like, half an hour into the audiobook that it was going to be 5 stars. Okay, you know what? I do have to say one thing. The Princess in Theory, I don't even know if I've said what the plot is, but basically, Naledi is a grad student in New York, and she's been getting spam emails from the Solo, the Kingdom of the Solo, because she is a long-lost betrothed of Prince Thabizo. And, hold on, there was something on my tongue. Anyway, Thabizo barges into her place of employment, and she's like, "Are you the new waiter? Am I training you? You're the new hire? Cool. Nice to meet you." And he's like, "Oh, she doesn't know who I am. I want to get to know her while, you know, without my crown hanging over my head, literally and figuratively." And, so, like, a lot of the scenes like that made me a little uncomfortable, not because I was uncomfortable with the plot. Like, I understand that it is a, you know, a fictional, like, plot contrivance, and that wouldn't happen in real life, so it didn't really make me anxious. But, like, I get secondhand embarrassment, and he just kind of embarrassed himself a couple times, and I was like, ooh. But if the fake ID is something that bothers you, that plot, I think, gets resolved in a really nice way well before the end of the book. It is not a false identity thing that drags on until the end, like the conclusion of their romance, which, or not conclusion, the conclusion of the book, which I appreciated because I think it would, I mean, false identity romances are only fun, like, really, they're fun because of the reveal scene and then the fallout of the reveal scene, you know what I mean? And, like, oh, hi. Hi, baby, I love you. Oh, you are so sweet. Oh, she's so sweet. Let's see. Oh, wait. Hi. Oh. Oh, my baby. Elsa, get out of that plastic bag. I don't know if you can hear that, but she's in a plastic bag. Anyway, I just wanted to update you. I'm an Alyssa Cole stan now. I'm going to read everything she's ever written. I followed her on Twitter. I am obsessed with this one book, and honestly, this book, the thing about romance writers is that unlike other genre writers, I feel like, where you can kind of expect, I would say, significant enough differences between the different books that they write. When it comes to romance authors, because romance is a very somewhat formulaic genre, when authors find a niche they really like, they tend to write similar books, not in a bad way. And so when you find a romance author you write, you can pretty much bet you'll at least enjoy everything they write. So I'm so excited. I loved Letty. I thought Letty was, like, such a good, realistic, feminist lead. I thought this book handled issues of race and gender so well, and I loved it so much. Oh my god, the sex scenes. Oh, my thumb got in the shot. They were sexy. They were really well written, and they were never voyeuristic or gross. They were like, they were steamy. Oh my god. Ooh. Hello. It is Sunday, February 23rd, so we are approaching the end of the month, and I have now read 7 books for this readathon. I just finished one. I read it today, and I'm going to tell you about it now. It is called Justice in a Bottle by Pete Fanning. It is, I thought it was middle grade, but I think it's young YA. I think it's about like a 13, 14-year-old girl. I think she's like in 8th grade, something like that. And it's an arc. It comes out on March 3rd. And I picked it because I thought it would be a good book to read this month. It's kind of, you know, a little out of my comfort zone in that it's like, okay, let me tell you what it's about. Basically, it is about a girl named Nettie. It's about a girl named Nita Simmons, and she wants to be a journalist. Like, she desperately wants to be a journalist. She wants to be part of the junior journalist club, and the book starts off with her having written a false story and having to issue a retraction, and like she's like writes for her middle school paper, but she like tries to do like really like hard-hitting stuff. So she tried to like expose a cover-up of abuse of funds by the school, and it accidentally created a sinkhole, like the whatever they were doing, but it turned out just to, like, it was just maintenance plans that she didn't know about. So she like went a little too hard and like made a fool of herself. So I mean, it was just really weird to watch a 13-year-old writing for their middle school newspaper, and she's like, my next story will be about mass incarceration. It was kind of weird. Those are my neighbors. But basically, the plot of the book is that after this big embarrassment with her writing, she starts talking to her neighbor who was in prison for 20 years and is kind of like known around town as a criminal or like someone who did something really bad. But she kind of befriends him, and he kind of gifts her, through a series of events, his journals, which he calls his memoirs, and she begins to uncover this injustice that led to him being imprisoned for 20 years. This book was weird. I think like maybe part of it is that I'm like not in the age group that this book is for, and that's totally fine, understandable. Like, books written for, like, I'm not meant to enjoy this, you know what I mean? It's not written for me. But I just feel like it was kind of clunky. It's not that long, it's less than 200 pages, and I believe it's a debut novel. Honestly, I just feel like there were too many like kind of like subplot things. This book is trying to handle a lot. So let me also say, this book has pretty clear references to lynching, and as well as depictions of violent protests and police abuse of power. This book also deals heavily with interracial relationships in the 1960s, and it was just, there were a lot of really good things being talked about, and I do like the way a lot of it was handled, but I just feel like the whole thing was kind of clunky. Like, it jumped very quickly into very, very serious conversations, and I'm not saying that younger kids shouldn't read about serious topics. Like, obviously it's important to discuss racial injustice and racism and oppression with children as they grow up, to make sure they're aware of these like systems that have been in place that need to kind of be addressed. But it was, I feel like the best thing I can say about this book is that it was clunky. I don't know. that's kind of how I feel about it. I can't think of what I want to rate it right now, but I do want to show you my very cute kitty. Ooh, oh, there we go. She's so cute. She's all curled up. She did scratch my other hand, so she's kind of a bitch, but how do I resist this little cutie? Hey guys, so welcome back. Today is actually the last day of February, February 29th, and I'm gonna wrap up this vlog. I mean, I feel like I have talked about all the books that I've read. I just want to say I did not ever manage to read Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I had originally picked this for the prompt, read a book written before the 21st century, and I did do that with one of my other books, so I'm just going to be moving around like the different prompts and stuff. Yeah, so I didn't get to this. I will eventually, but this just wasn't the month for it. So this month I read 7 books by Black authors out of 14 total books, which I'll talk about all of them in my wrap up, and I really enjoyed a lot of these books, so I'm just going to run through them with you in the order that I read them and talk about what I used them for in terms of like prompts for the Blacklit Challenge. The first book I read for the Blacklit Challenge was With the Fire on High. Let me get it, actually, it's right here. With the Fire on High, I used this for the prompt, read a book with a black character on the cover, and I gave this book 5 stars. This book is amazing. Next, I read We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I gave this book 3 stars. It's like nonfiction, and I used it for the book by a non-American or author from the UK. By an author not from the US or the UK is what the prompt was. So Chimamanda is from Nigeria, I believe, and I liked it well enough. It wasn't very in-depth. It's like a basic kind of feminist primer, I feel like, and I don't know, it was exactly what I expected, but also not as much as I expected. So 3 stars, but I still enjoyed listening to it. It was only a 45-minute audiobook, so super, super fast. Next, I read Sula by Toni Morrison. I had originally picked this book to be the book that was out of my comfort zone, but I am moving it to be the book that was written before the 21st century because this book was published in, I believe, 1973. This one wasn't my favorite again. I feel like, I know Whitney from Witty Novels? Witty Reads? Something like that. She just read this book and I really liked what she said in her review, which was basically like, I can see that the writing is beautiful and I can see that there are things happening here that I'm not getting, and I feel like if I had read this book in an academic setting or with other people to discuss it with, I feel like I probably would have made more of the connections that would make me appreciate this book better, but there was just a lot of things that kind of just didn't come together for me. So it is a 3-star because I did love a lot of the writing and I liked a lot of the subplots and like the different plot threads, but they just never came together for me. Next, I read Tempest by Beverly Jenkins, and this was a book that I just kind of picked up for funsies because I wanted to read a Beverly Jenkins romance novel. She's like very, very well known in the romance community and she's written so many books and I admire her very much. I did not realize when I picked up this book that it was a Western, so that was kind of weird, and this was, I'm looking at my computer right now to see like what rating I gave everybody. I seem to have given this book a 2.5 stars. And like, objectively, this book does not deserve 2.5 stars. Like, it is much better than that. But like, for my reading experience, it didn't have, honestly, it was my own fault. This is absolutely my own fault for not really, I just kind of saw the first one on Libby that was available, and like downloaded it, because like, if I had read any of the description of this, I probably wouldn't have picked it. So it's my own fault for just going in blind and going, oh, it'll be fine, because it was a Western, there was a single parent trope, and like, it was just a lot of things that I don't usually like. So it was, objectively, this book is better than that. But for my own reading experience, I just really didn't enjoy this book. I didn't think the sex scenes were that good, and I would read another book by Beverly Jenkins. I just need to like do a little bit more research before I pick that up. Next, I read A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. That was for my, what is it called? That was my Ina recommendation. So the Artisan Geek came up with this insanely cool like AI choose your own adventure kind of video series things, and through the answers that I got, I was recommended A Blade So Black by Ella McKinney, which is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars, so I liked a lot of things about it, but there were also just some like pacing issues that I didn't really like, and I feel like the world building wasn't that good, like descriptions of the world wasn't that great, but I'm interested in reading the second one, so it was a good experience. I enjoyed it. Then I read A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole, which I gave 5 stars, and as much as I loved, what's it called? With the Fire on High. As much as I love With the Fire on High, honestly, I think A Princess in Theory is my favorite book that I've read this month for this challenge. I'm using it, it could be black characters on the cover, but I am using it for a book out of my comfort zone because honestly, I don't really read contemporary romances. Just like, they're not usually my jam. Don't know why. Like when I read them, I like them, but when I'm just like looking for books to read, I'm never like, yes, let me just normal people on a normal day. Like I want something spicy, something special. So, A Princess in Theory, 5 fucking stars. I fucking love that shit. I'm gonna read everything by Alyssa Cole for the rest of my life, and that is a promise. With that, I've met all of the prompts, but there's one more book that I read by Black author this month, and that is Justice in a Bottle by Pete Fanning. This was an ARC that I got on NetGalley. It is going to be released on either March 3rd or March 10th, and unfortunately, I wasn't a huge fan of this book. I gave it 2.5 stars. It's weird because I feel like the age of the character is either 13 or 14, so it would be young YA, but this book really reads middle grade, and it was grappling with a lot of really big topics, which absolutely valid. Is important to talk to children about, like important topics like racism and, you know, the history of segregation in America and violence against interracial couples. Like, these are all things that like should be taught to children because it is part of history. I just feel like this book needed to be longer, honestly. I feel like the things were just really rushed. Things would just come out of nowhere. Emotionally, it just wasn't like paced very well. And there were just a lot of like weird subplots that you feel like they're going to, like, things that mentioned that you feel like are going to be brought up again, but then aren't. Like the fact that her mom is having trouble paying the bills, or that her best friend's brother passed away, or that her other best friend is telling her that she has a crush on her best friend whose brother passed away, or like just there's like lots of things that I feel like should have been brought up again because they seem to be introducing things, but then they weren't. So I gave this book 2.5 stars. Yeah, it just didn't really do it for me. Maybe I gave it 2 stars, I don't know, but around there, abouts. And that is all the books I read for the Black Lit Challenge. I had a really, really good time. I really love when I'm given, it's not like, I love when readathons like have a focus, but are also like wide open. Like you can pick what you want and the prompts aren't so restrictive. I am a mood reader, and that's one of the reasons that I didn't get to all of the books that I wanted to read this month. It's because I just honestly, there were some books that I was reading and I just wasn't in the mood for. So I would take like a week-long break and then have to rush at the end to like get in before my hold of the library like went up. So yes, I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed making it, and I will see you guys next time. Let me know if you've read any of these books and if you enjoyed them, or if you plan to read any of them. Oh, also, I do want to thank my friend Michaela, whom I love very, very much. She gave me this book as a present because it takes place in Philadelphia, and I was leaving Philly, and so she was like, here's the book with Philly, and I was like, thank you. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!